Dan?
Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for giving us another day on this earth and for allowing us to come together today to do the work of this county. I pray that you be with us during this meeting as that we make all the decisions and thoughts and comments that will glorify and honor you. In his name I pray.
Attention, salute the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Thank y'all. I'd like to welcome everybody. Mylan and Mike Hughes is not here. Tim Mason, Josh Rogers, Cindy Slater, and of course Mayor Davis. And we got Crystal Freiberg here today, which is good. And Mr. Lewis, that's good. We'll move on in. If you talk, please make sure your microphone's on and so, all that good stuff. I need a motion to approve the agenda from our December 8th meeting.
So moved.
Mr. Josh Rogers with a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Slater. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Moving right on. We got a couple of three guests here today, and I'd like to introduce them. Steve, you want to come up and introduce yourself and your guests there? We got Steve Clift here with Baseline, and he's going to go through some stuff with Baseline, and then got the turf with us too, also, so we can talk about the turf and the base and everything else. So I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Louis. My name's Steve Clift. I'm with Baseline Sports Construction, based out of Knoxville with offices in Chattanooga. We specialize in outdoor athletic facilities, inclusive of synthetic turf field, natural turf fields, running track facilities, tennis and pickleball, both at the residential up to collegiate levels. Have been involved in some professional facilities as well. Tends to be a harder market to work in because they want everything for free. But we have been in business since 2000. I started in the industry in 1995. Installed my first field at Baylor School in 2008, first synthetic field. Jake McIntosh is with Shaw Sports. I'll allow him to himself.
Jake McIntosh with Shaw Sports Turf. A little bit about Shaw Sports Turf. We are a part or division of Shaw Industries. I'm sure you guys are fairly familiar with in North Georgia, based out of Dalton. Been working with Steve now for what? Close to 15 years. Multiple synthetic turf projects in the area. But anyways, just excited to be here. Again, I'm representing Shaw Sports Turf and have a partnership and relationship with Baseline Sports Construction.
Jake's going to hand out basically hard copies of what we have on the screen. In the folders, you'll find a copy of the construction proposal, tentative schedule, and a couple of product information sheets. So Louis asked me to prepare a budget to convert 22 infields throughout the county to synthetic turf. I think the challenges here are like the challenges at most municipalities. They find they're trying to launch their seasons in February and March, and it's typically too wet to play, just because of the changes we've seen in our rainy seasons. Not only at the municipal level, but also at high school, collegiate level as well. We're installing these at all levels. Some are full field conversions, some are just infield conversions, which is obviously where you get the bulk of your play. Just to kind of go over a work scope, this is a design build proposal, so I would handle all of the design aspect of it, working with an independent engineering firm to build basically engineered design drawings to obtain a state SWIP permit and also a local permit. Because Some municipalities see this as a permeable surface, some see it as impermeable. So some of the laws that we have to abide by in the design aspect can vary. That process will take about 90 days, 60 to 90 days to complete. We can do a park at a time, but that was kind of prolong the process. Whereas if we designed all of the parks simultaneously, it would shorten the process. So basically, the first portion of the project would be obviously erosion control measures per the design and per the state requirement. Excavation of each field 2 plus or minus 8 inches is required. In some cases, we will have to go deeper because of how the outfield lips tie to the infield. Those can vary depending on grading patterns when they're dragging fields and what have you. So in some cases, I may get to 12 inches deep on some of the infield. Following that process, we'll fine grade everything with GPS and laser guided equipment. And to do that, we will build a model, a GPS model for every field. And that will coincide with the GPS guided equipment. We'll set up a base station that will interact with the equipment to hit our elevations. After the fine grading is complete, we'll install an 8 or 10 inch perforated pipe system on the perimeter of the infield. And so as part of my assessment process, I had to kind of determine where we would take the water without an engineered design. So in some places we will tie directly into existing storm systems. Some we will outlet via head walls and spillways into surrounding water areas. The next process would include a perimeter curb that goes all the way around the infield. We attach our turf to that. That curb establishes final finished elevations and is permanent. Once the curb is in place, we'll put a filter fabric on the field, 4 ounces. What that does, a lot of people ask why is it needed? It helps the subgrade from getting too dry and too wet. If it's one or the other, you're going to have a lot of movement and displacement. We put a flat panel, a 12-inch wide flat panel drain on 25 to 30 foot centers. Those are literally 12 inches wide, 1 inch thick. They serve as a conduit for water in the stone to exit the site. And then at that point, we're ready to put in the turf, which we'll want to be utilizing a product called True Hop, engineered by Shaw. And I'm going to let Jake sort of elaborate on the studies that they have done with this system to help it mimic true play of a natural field.
Appreciate it, Steve. So you guys have the technical cut sheets in front of you just describing exactly what the product is. The reason that we went this direction, recommending this True Hop product, is because this is specifically infields only. So the True Hop product is extremely dense, extremely durable. It has a thatch layer in there that helps hold that infill in place, because again, there's a lot of use in a tighter area compared to a football field, soccer field, something like that. And so we've had a ton of success with this system. Steve will go into some projects, I'm sure, here in a minute that highlight just the product and how it's performed. But yeah, in regards, when Steve mentioned testing, Shaw has taken an immense amount of time and resources into understanding the way that baseball and softball performs on a synthetic turf system. I think, roughly 10 years ago, whatever was on the football field would just get carried over to a baseball, softball application, and that is simply not the case anymore. And so this system is truly designed for ball play, also athlete safety in mind. But yeah, from the makeup of the product to the specific infill ratios of sand and rubber content that go into the infield, is truly tuned and designed to mimic kind of a natural infield get the ball moving and reacting the way that it's supposed to. So just a few through this testing and system development, we've really been blessed as a company to partner with some very high-profile installations, specifically at the MLB level. So the Arizona Diamondbacks were first. New Globe Life Park for the Texas Rangers has the Shaw Sports Turf system. That was actually a couple of years ago, World Series, because we played on Shaw Sports Turf between those two. Florida Marlins, Tampa Bay Rays, pretty much all the MLB. And I say that not to say it is a brag, but just to show you the amount of time and effort that's gone into these systems. And this truly, it's a great system. Had a lot of success locally and across the country for us. So we're excited and feel like it's a perfect fit again for this infield only application. There are some different products for different areas, outfield and things like that, but I'll kind of stop there. There may be some more specific questions, but that's just very high level Shaw and the system proposed.
Both what we call rag samples and finished samples here that you can touch, feel, look at, and understand sort of the makeup of it. One of the things I failed to mention is part of our base profile is 6 inches of stone that is free draining. So the water will perk through the turf, through the stone, through the drainage system, and exit the site. These systems are built to perk 20 inches of rain an hour. God forbid we have to deal with that, but that's how much water they. I wanted to also sort of share some project photos with you. The demand for this, as I said earlier, it just keeps growing. Just locally, we're converting 4 fields for Camp Jordan. Those are full conversion. We're literally finishing 4 this week. We've already completed a soccer field there as part of that package. Their losses were measurable last spring, enough to prompt them to make this move. And they plan on doing 4 more in 2026 and 2 more soccer fields. We just converted 5 at Regional Park in Athens, and we've done several at Bicentennial Park in county. And it's just sort of is the common trend throughout we're finding. This mouse is tricky. So just I tried to highlight some local in East Tennessee and didn't want to overwhelm you with too many. This is a facility we did at Athens Middle School. That is obviously a combo baseball, softball field with an adjacent soccer field. Probably one of the nicest middle school venues I've been on. This is University of the Cumberlands. They are a good customer of ours. We converted really all of their athletic venues for them. This is a infield only installation at an NAIA baseball program. There you see their logos. You can do all kinds of things with the turf, but this has really helped them immensely. They get a lot of rain up there in the mountains. This has helped them launch their seasons when it was scheduled. This is a local park. This is Harrison Recreation. So we converted all of their infields to synthetic turf. This sort of speaks to what I said earlier about the transition from the outfield to the infield. Their grades were missing so much. We had to regrade the outfields and resod it for them. And they knew that going in. They were prepared for that. But it was a significant effort to get the two to marry, if you will, correctly. And their play has really moved to, I would say, 3 of the 4 weekends a month year round. This is just an example of another collegiate facility. This is Lincoln Memorial University we did a few years ago. This project included their bullpen areas as well. Macaulay School, we converted their infield only for them. And they have a pretty significant challenge in the outfield there as well. And their grades are off pretty bad. Kind of leave it there. So that was a challenge to convert, and their hope is to eventually convert the outfield in a year or two. This is Silverdale Baptist Academy that we just finished last week. We started at their stadium field, moved to baseball, finished softball. My kids played ball here. My two oldest sons missed an average of 10 home games a year because of the rainy the challenges they face. So they were in a position where they were moving a lot of their home games to play a schedule. They have been raising money for that project for about 7 years. This is a facility, municipal facility is it in Bristol? Johnson City. This is 4 multi-purpose baseball, softball fields, 2 soccer fields. They even play soccer. They'll host soccer tournaments and play soccer in the outfield to allow them to have bigger tournaments. So we also did some interior landscape turf for them there as well. But this has been a big success for them. I think they're talking about more as well. Just, and the common theme we hear, well, 2 really, we're doing this because it's raining so much in early spring. 2, it's a boost to their revenue generation to have the fields available really most of the time, if not all of them. So I'll move to the product info. So Jake will recall this. So a local school had us do a case study on building natural versus synthetic for them. They want to do 3 fields: football, baseball, softball. And throughout the course of the case study, and I won't bore you with all the details in every page of the brochure, but the biggest benefit that we found was the cost of the turf per playing hour. Break it down that way over the course of the 12-year lifespan, Jake. It was exponentially less expensive. Well, I'm not having any luck with the mouse, but it was exponentially less expensive. And again, it was available all the time. Again, as Jake said, it's a product called True Hop 46. We get fantastic feedback on it from clients. It plays true. So, are there any technical questions I can answer?
Mr. Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple questions. You kept talking about the grading of the infield and the outfield. Is that included in the price that you've presented today?
It is.
If it is a drastic in some areas but not other, whatever it is, that's all included in your price?
It is, yes.
Okay, because I know that's a different.
So that transition, typically you see, can be anywhere from 6 to 10 feet into the outfield.
And then my other question isn't for you guys, but it does have pertain to this, but it's for Andy, but I'll just come back to me whenever he's ready. I got a question about the schedule that you guys have presented.
Yes, I had Steve present us a schedule. Now, that's not, it's a
I-
temporary something to work with, but
Sure.
it gives you the time frames.
But if this is
yeah.
I guess my question to you guys is, obviously today's the 9th, so we're already on week 2, so we would just move that completely out. But you could have every single one of our fields completed by what you're saying by September, or July 20th.
Well, yes, so Louis asked me, said, give me a duration of how long it will take to do the project. I tried to break that down per part.
Yeah.
You have multiple crews working simultaneously.
So, but you could have all of this done by the fall.
Yes, that's the problem.
I guess then my question would be for Andy is do you have sports going on in May? Do you have baseball, softball going on in the month of May? Yeah. Okay. But your schedule is fluid though, right, sir? Because to be able to continue to have athletics if need be, because there's like 4 weeks there where every field is completely shut down.
Sure.
So
Sure, Andy and I can work closely on that. I can move around accordingly to leave him a park or two available. That's not an issue. I just wanted to show a duration, how long it would take to do each part. The design is about 90 days again, so if we do design all of the sites simultaneously, we would hold off to start once the design is complete.
Mr. Blake,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is more of a confirmation question because I think you touched on it, but you have gone to all 4 of our parks and done your studies, analysis, and
Yes.
in other words, I'm trying to make sure there's no by the ways, when gotchas kind of stuff,
So in the budget, I've got
Or-
12.5%.
or change orders.
That's right. And I've got 12.5% in the budget for contingent. Because ultimately, until the engineer hands me the drawings, I don't know exactly where he wants me to take the water. So that's why I have the contingency in the budget.
But you have done a site visit to
Yes.
Bradley North, Urbane, all those. Very good.
Yeah, we did what I call topos. We take great shots at each field and have a good understanding how it would go. Blue Springs will be the challenge in terms of access. Bradley North will be a little bit of a challenge in terms of how far we have to carry the water.
That's what we were told, yeah. So, touching on the fact that we've decided to go with infield only, but we asked if we decide later, how hard would it be to do outfields if we went that way? How does that work? Or are we confined to just infield once we go there? Because if I understood your comment, turf is designed for infield, and outfield may have a different type of grass on it. So if we were to go to outfield in the future, because we felt like that was what people wanted, how hard would that be? Walk me through that process, if you will.
So basically, we would attach more or less to the curb that is on the perimeter of the infield where it would attach to the natural grass. We just dig the natural grass up, build to that grade, just like we would with the infield. It's easy. It's an easy process.
Very good. I was interested, and we don't have to go into it too depth here, but the GPS data, I mean, that correlates to a GPS system or a GIS system, so it can be put into our GIS system.
Well, part of my design, we would do physical surveys of every site by a licensed surveyor. That data would be given to our designer. They would build CAD files for each site, and those CAD files would correlate to the GPS, and that would be communicated to the equipment. So literally, that equipment is reading that CAD file as it's
Very
working.
good. Thank you very much.
sir.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogers?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. This price does include you call them sweepers, groomers, like the field for each park, correct?
Yes, sir. 4 groomers.
So we would get those as well.
Yes, sir. And we would train your staff. And there's also 3 sets of base anchors in each field that will be available for different age groups.
What is the warranty process on the fields? If there's an issue with the turf, if there's an issue with rips or cuts?
Well, rips or cuts, or you will have seams burst, just kids picking that sometimes.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you to ask our clients this question. If it happens, because you're local, we take care of those at no cost. Your highest wear areas, in your case, will be your batter's boxes and your catcher's boxes. And those are easily repaired using attic stock left over from the initial install. So it's literally a cutout and reseam process. So, and again, being local, we don't charge to take care of things.
Okay. Is there, in the warranty process, is there anything that talks about, and I'm just trying to help the next commission that's going to be up here in 4 years or whenever that is, or I guess the longevity of this is 10, 15 years. In your warranty process or anything like that, is there certain types of shoes or anything like that that are not allowed to be played on this surface?
We recommend that they do not wear steel spikes. In most cases, these age groups do not. And is that fair to say?
Okay. So just even for tournament play, we would just need to make that known.
Correct.
Okay.
And we will provide, do's and don'ts, signage to hang at each gate and each dugout.
So how much?
Talking about the turf, we mentioned warranty on that earlier. Could you explain the warranty on the turf a little bit?
Yes, so,
And the longevity?
yes, sir. In conjunction to what Steve was talking about, the workmanship and repairs would be done by Baseline. That process would be, if there was an issue, you certainly would call Steve. He would be the main point of contact. The synthetic turf surface does have an 8-year manufacturer's warranty that comes with it, that basically against premature degradation or the backing coming apart. I'm happy to provide that sample warranty to you guys, but that is an additional 8-year manufacturer warranty on the turf. Saying that, it really depends on maintenance and amount of use, but what we typically see, there's no reason not to expect 10 to 12 years out of this surface before the surface would need to be replaced. And at that point, Steve can speak more to the cost, but would be significantly less than this initial investment. Have that infrastructure of the base, the drainage, curbs, all that work complete. At that point, 12 years from now, it would be literally a turf replacement, removal field surface, new surface down, address anything if there was anything at that point.
The base, Louis asked me to sort of speak to it. Again, the first field I installed was in 2008 at Baylor. Have replaced that turf on one occasion, 3 years ago, I believe. So that field got 15 years of use out of it, and you can imagine the amount of use it got at a Baylor school. Had to do nothing to the base other than just reclip it. How we term it, we just laser graded it with our tractor real quick before we lay the new turf on it. So, to my knowledge, I have lots of friends in the industry. The only base I have replaced was not a base I installed. It was a base that another contractor installed for Macaulay on their stadium field back in the early 2000s when they used a dense grade aggregate. So water could not perk through it. And what it was doing is it was going through the turf to the top of the stone, sheeting off, could not make its way to the drainage system, so it back built. So when we replaced our stadium field 3 years ago, I replaced that base with the proper stone profile. But any base you built using 57 or 89 stone, I have never replaced.
Basically, you're saying that the base, once the base is there, it's pretty much stays there.
Correct.
You
That's
don't
right.
have to replace it. You've been doing this how long now?
oh gosh, since '95. And a lot of the bases are very similar to what we would use on a track or a tennis court in that it's all installed with GPS and laser guided equipment, and what have you. And those bases, sometimes we'll have to go in and replace the track surfaces or the asphalt that it's on because the surfaces can actually break the asphalts down. But when we get to the stone, we don't have to replace the stone. And that's the lifeblood of this system.
Any other questions? Andy, just give us a quick review of the numbers, just to remind the committee on the amount of play and how much we're gonna miss or how much has been missed in the past.
So last year, I believe we missed about 10 rec dates, which is around 200 plus games we missed to weather. Probably missed 5 or 6 tournaments completely rained out, not to count in the ones that we, had rain out halfway through the day. So quite a bit of games that we lost last year. To give you an idea what we're looking at for this spring, I've got 1,100 kids signed up right now. So, well, that's counting the waiting because we're gonna release those guys. So it's gonna be about 1,100. Hopefully it'll stay there. It might end up at 1,200. It fluctuates from 10 to 1,200 in the spring.
So every day you miss a rain out, 1,200 kids aren't gonna be able to play, basically.
We're missing quite a few games, and
Yeah.
And makeups they're pretty hard to get scheduled. So we're in a pretty tight schedule of when we can play our rec season. So if we're playing on Tuesday, we're going to be able to play. If I'm trying to reschedule on a Saturday, there's a lot of birthday parties to go to. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andy, I know I kind of asked this question before while you were sitting down, but you've seen this chart here. Is that chart close to doable for you? And in the fact of time frame?
So if we were, it would be doable to the extent of if I'm missing one part, say Bradley North or Blue Springs for rec ball, I can make that adjustment. I can fold Elrod into the mix. I couldn't do without County for rec ball because of the softball baseball combination. But if I couldn't use one of the other three while they were working on it, I would be able to make the adjustment schedule wise and be able to get through the spring. Once we get to tournament time, and then I can mix and match however I need to. So
When is your tournament time?
the tournaments, they'll start in March. So, but I'm saying, so you've got that rec ball aspect from the end of March to mid-May to where you're Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, every week. So I can't really schedule around that if I didn't have County. But if I had County and Blue Springs and Elrod, or County and Bradley North and Elrod, I can make that adjustment. And I can adjust the tournaments however I need to based on typically nowadays the big tournaments are going to be 2 parks, usually County because they're able to move up and down the hill. But if we got into turfing at that point at County, then hey, you're just going to have to work between Bradley North and Elrod or Blue Springs and wherever. So I can make those adjustments when we get there.
Thank you.
Mr. Blake, any?
I've asked all the Andy questions for the last 2 or 3 meetings. I think that obviously I'm for this part of the thing. I appreciate working in these guys on the schedule. I think that's going to be key to what you just talked about. Now I guess it's on our side to put together the financing work with the mayor, your proposal, stuff like that. You're ready to go, right? So I don't have any questions. I'm just.
I would make one comment because I believe Steve brought it up. A lot of I believe you said Harrison, they're pretty much playing year round now. I've got tournaments scheduled from the first weekend of March until the 3rd weekend of November, pretty much every single weekend. And I cut it off in November, and that's with dirt. So
you know, the tournaments and even the rec ball could, if people were willing to play a little bit longer, could change a lot as far as what we offer to rec and tournament wise with turf on our infields. That could get even more in depth. I had people asking me to play in December, so at some point I had to shut them down so we could work on the fields a little bit, but they're asking. So
Well, to that point, I mean, we would, for tournaments, the tournament directors, until we get it internal and figure out where, I mean, our costs are, yeah, the price that we charge will go up.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because, I mean, we're providing a better product.
And
from that
and
point.
even to the, and I know this is something that was brought up years ago. You know, with turf, then you're definitely looking at deposits for weekends up
Yeah.
front. You know, that I've typically not done in the past because I can't guarantee it's not going to rain that weekend. If we have turf, and I know that you're going to have a tournament, if you make in March, then I can start saying you get this many dates. This is the deposit, and we'll adjust it as we go. And you know, there'll be non-refundable if you cancel the week of the tournament because that's not on us.
Exactly.
You could play,
Yeah,
so that would make a difference too.
yeah,
Ms. Slater?
So I'd like for you to speak on, under the terms of service, under number 5, 6, and 7. How often does that happen?
So number 5 does not allow for removal, remediation, or replacement of unsuitable soil, solid rock, etc. In this case, because I'm only digging 8 inches, it's highly unlikely. If there were unsuitable soils at 8 inches, Andy would be dealing with it now because it would show itself. So I do not expect that to be an issue. In construction, that's a general term and condition that you would see, whether it's a road or a building, something like this.
Okay, number 6.
Number 6 does not allow for removal, remediation, or replacement of underground utilities if encountered. Again, another typical insert you would see in a contract. Typically, the biggest utility we deal with is the underground conduit for lighting. We will test for those underground runs. So if we do encounter them, we repair those immediately, and that's included in the cost.
And then number 7, you said you've been to all of our fields.
Yes.
Do you anticipate any cost for number 7?
Elrod, no. Bradley North, no. Blue Springs, no. Bradley County, we will have to lay down what I call logging mats. They're heavy duty mats to support the loads of the heavy equipment to get to the fields. So if there is any, I expect it to be minimal because of that. And if it is minimal, I can repair it in the budget I've provided.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we've got proposed and we projected schedule. We've looked at that schedule, and everybody can kind of look at the time frames on that. It just depends on, you know. Mayor, have you had an opportunity to look into financing with the banks? Have you talked to anybody about banking yet or anything?
Yeah, it looks like our best bet is what you all really wanted to do anyways with the HCI funds, for the term that we're looking at here. But I can't go that amount with HCI funds, and I can't go but the life, which is 10 to 12 years with the loan. So that's the kind of constraint we have on the timeline that they're talking about. Can't do it all with HCI funds on a 10 to 12 year term. You're going to have to look at some other financing in addition, hopefully, to the grants that we've got in works, which may change the timeline a little bit. If I was talking to these guys, I would probably be looking at going into spring of 27 just to give us that leeway. Not that we're not going to be doing them all, but stretch it a little bit. But we will also, you all will have to decide what you want to do with the remaining amount. For example, if we do $2 million with HCI, then you're replacing the loan payment that you just took care of recently with the library. You can only do about 2 million in a 10 to 12-year term. So that leaves another 3 million. If we were to get the grants, then we'd be looking at borrowing about half of that 3 million. That would have to be addressed at some point. So to these guys, the only thing that I would be hoping to change is a little stretching the timeline just a little bit. We could come up with a contract that says, hey, you're going to do it all, roughly $5 million, but with a longer ending date while you guys decide on some of the financing pictures, because they're going to start billing me, and I'll have to have the financing in place at some point. If you look at it, they're probably going to be billing monthly, and the HCI we can get done. That's in-house. That's a contract between that Crystal will do with the trustee. That has to be approved by the state, of course, but that can happen fairly quick while they're doing their first part of the phase one. But I'm hoping what you will approve is Bradley North and Blue Springs, spring, winter, and spring. You come back and do the others in the north in the spring, Blue Springs in the summer, and come back and do the others in the winter and spring of next year to make the financing work. I don't think that affects them other than they'll know a stretched out timeline that they would have to agree to when we do the contract. Does that sort of answer your question? But back to the HCI, we can do 10 or 12 years. We can only do the life of the product. And you heard him mention 12, and everybody's told me 10 to 12. So we can only borrow 10 to 12. So that dictates your annual loan amount. You know, it's got to be paid back annually or whatever. But with going HCI, we're looking at a rate of roughly 3%. Working with Cumberland, the amount that we're talking about doing, and only for that short period of time, they agreed that the HCI is the best to go with, at least for phase one. And when we get to phase, what I'm calling phase one, phase two, I think we will have exhausted our HCI option. Then we incorporate the grant into the picture, and we have to borrow the balance. But at that point, we would be doing something longer. We'd be doing a different kind of loan, but it can't be a lot longer. It can't be more than life. So it's going to still be a 12-year bond or whatever we do. Won't be a bond, probably a whatever that other term is for shorter term borrowing. Does that make sense? And did I confuse you or okay? If
Would
you
it-
all, I would hope at some point will approve the overall project. And I'm not trying to dictate the timeline, but I think the borrowing and so forth dictates the timeline that we can work out with them.
So you're recommending kind of that we go ahead and project to do the project, just work out a timeline on the financing side of it, basically. Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
And I think he's following me on the timeline. I don't think they would have a problem with that as long as they knew up front. I mean, they're squeezing it all in between now and September, ideally, but that's only if we're going to borrow the whole $5 million somewhere other than HCI and with a bond that pays it back in 12 years. I think it's worth spreading it a little bit and letting the grants. We're looking at a $1.5 million grant that would be here for phase three. And so, yes, I think if you will do that and leave the timeline, if you all agree roughly with that timeline, we can work with them on putting what he's got here in front of you is their offer and their plan of service, I guess you would say, and then Crystal will have to do a contract that they'll have to agree to based on that and changing that timeline just a little bit.
Crystal, that be a problem with you?
That's what I was gonna say. Make sure they're okay with and understand typically I would do a contract that looks more like that will protect the county, to be honest, and will have things in it. There's some language in here about performance bonds and payment bonds. We'll need to decide on that. Usually with a project of this size, I would recommend getting those things in place. So there's a lot of sort of boilerplate standard language that will be in that contract in addition to what the mayor's talking about, which is more detail about when they're getting paid, how they're getting paid, the phases of the project, all of those things. This is a great jumping off point for a scope of services, but there would need to be, in my opinion at least, my recommendation would be a more detailed contract with protections for the county. They've got to have insurance in place. They've got to have all those things. So there's a lot more than just what I see here that would need to be in that contract for a $5 million project.
Yes, sir, Mr. Rogers.
Mayor, quick question. So their end date here is 7/13 of 2026. With the comments that you were making about extending it out into these different phases, just for clarification, when would your end date be that you would like to see?
Well, their end date's later than that now because we didn't get started the
Understand.
1st of February. So their end date is roughly August. And that's going straight through, going from field to field and getting them all
Yep.
done. If we could do North and Blue Springs, North immediately, have them up and going according to that schedule, plus forward it 2 weeks probably. That means North would get finished wherever that chart went. Anyway, it would get finished in spring, and then they would immediately move to Blue Springs. It would get finished during the summer, and there would be a pause while they go finish one of these other millions of fields. And then, but they'd be on schedule to come back then in winter and spring to finish North and Menace Road.
Winter of
So
26.
this time
and
next
spring
year,
of
we're about
27.
finished. Spring of 27, we would have everything done. But summer of 26, you would have 1 done. End of summer of 26, you would have 2 done. And spring of 27, you'd have everything done.
Would you guys be able to continue to do all of the design work at the beginning of that? Or would you have to hold off on the design?
I would probably only do design on the first 2. That would expedite the design for those.
Okay.
And then once we got those going, I would start the design on the other 2. And if we contracted together, I would immediately procure all of my materials. So we don't have a price increase going into next year.
That's the key, in my opinion.
Yes.
He's agreeing to the timeline. He knows he's going to be doing it. He knows it's a little bit slower than initially. And we still got some things to work out then with financing.
That does not impact me.
You're good with the
I'm
timeline?
totally fine with that. So it's perfectly fine with that. The key for me is I want to procure the materials. If I can procure all of those for all sites, the schedule.
So what he's really wanting y'all to do is you recommend the commission approves the entire, and I call it a $5.3 million project. Hopefully it's less than that, but potentially a $5.3 million project. We do a contract for a $5.3 million project. So he knows he's doing it. He does his procurement. He adjusts his timeline, and we're set to go. We haven't talked to them about any of this now. He's hearing any of it for the first time because I didn't know how you'll want to pursue, but we didn't suggest he change the timeline or anything. I felt like he would if he knew that he was doing the entire thing. So, and I think he's acknowledging something to that
I am.
effect.
So
Mr. Blake.
why Bradley North and Blue Springs first?
Well, that was sort of his,
Always.
and it probably works easier that way for Andy. And I don't know if Andy influenced or not. They're suggesting Bradley North first and Blue Springs second, probably in talking with Andy. I didn't change any of that, but it also worked from the financial end because $2 million is roughly all I can do with HCI funds, and that way I could do HCI like you all wanted, and we're set for this year.
But each park's not the same amount, right? I mean, imagine Urbane's a little bit more than it's the larger one with more fields.
Correct. Each park has its own value.
Yeah.
We have that?
It's 1.2 is north approximately, 800 is Blue Springs approximately, and I'm using his numbers. Then we come back with Urbane and Elrod, and it's sort of lumped together in the one that I'm working from, and it's 3.3.
How
So
much is Urbane all by itself? I don't have it. Where's it?
Forgive me, I know them by park names, I'm sorry.
Two,
Industrial and Urbane,
I won't say 2.8.
two?
I was thinking 2.8.
That's the, is that the one with,
One over
Urbane.
by the YMCA?
Yeah, all Urbane.
yes.
Said 2 million?
Gosh, I don't know.
so he's
Oh, they-
he's got them together in his
I
estimate
get
that you're
what you're
looking at.
saying, but,
And they would do them together, so that's not a problem unless you were not wanting to do a particular park.
I just think Urbane is the one that's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck there is. That's the one,
Yeah.
Schedule.
Ms. Slater?
So as I've previously said, I'm not against turf, but when you start talking about borrowing money, I am against using taxpayers' money for turf in light of other needs that we have in the community.
all right, we're not gonna use property tax, at all. Any of the funds, general fund, Mayor, we're not gonna use property at all. HCI, just for everybody's purposes, HCI, the fund 192, that's from the sale of Bradley Memorial years ago. It draws interest, has years. We did this with, what was it, library?
The library.
2008. We satisfied that debt, so we have a year. Well, I guess that we doubled up this year, so we're finished with that. But we're not. The only other thing with that, though, what is not a property tax or sales tax or anything, is the 172. But that's hotel motel, and the hotel motel industry, by the way, is absolutely for this.
That's
Understand.
that's who should be paying it, and you may have that option.
But I
when
don't
we
know
look at it.
if there's enough, because we have an obligation with that, still with Spring Branch, stuff like that, but I don't know, and some of it goes in the general fund, but if there's enough in there to handle, doing another park in there, then we get into the fine tuning right there. We definitely can't do all four, and if we can't do Urbane now, I guess I understand what you're saying. It has the most benefit, but that's because it has the most benefits, the one why you have to use it. It's kind of a catch-22. Yeah. It has, that's the only place where girls softball is, right? Or, yeah. Girls softball would benefit the most from tournaments, from what I understand. Hard for me to believe, but girls softball.
And
I don't know, Mayor, whatever.
if you want to be looking at,
172 has some.
it has some. We need to look at it, see if it has enough. But again, we don't know how much we need yet either. If you do two, you please accept the fact you can't do all 5.3 million out of HCI. That would be a $600,000 payment a year, and you only relieve 250 from library. So $600,000 a year would eat up, unless you're willing to give up everything, and then you're going to get into a legal issue of whether you can give up everything for this one kind of project. We did with library, I know, but that was a small fraction. So that's another hurdle if you try to do it all. I'm of the assumption you can't do it all, but you could try. But you also do have the 172, and if we get the grants, it might be able to do the balance. We won't know that for a while.
Why don't,
But Commissioner Slater, her problem is she don't want to vote for it, assuming. I'm telling you, you can't say definitely today that HCI and 172 can cover it all. It might can with the grants, but to say that it definitely is, and then you vote for it and it not work out that way, then you're in a dilemma. I understand. But we can look at how much the 175 can provide. We would borrow and pay for it with 172. We're not through with the park yet, so it's still got that coming out, but there is more going into it than needed. So
what I'd like to do is move this on to Finance Committee to talk more about the finances side of it, if we could, and that's another, next week or two, we got a
Thursday.
finance meeting.
Thursday.
This Thursday, rather. So that gives us an opportunity to talk more about the financing side of it, and I think it can be worked out. Mr. Weatherford, real quick, any communication from the audience, and we got another meeting here in 5 minutes, so. Yeah.
This is a great conversation, and the fact that we're actually talking about this and making a lot of progress is a big plus to me. But my perspective is more unique from a community member, a coach, a parent of 3 players who have gone through and are currently in the system, but then also a tournament lead. So I wanted to just give my perspective real quick, albeit it's not theoretical. I've played on just about every field here in the county. Over the years, I've coached my kids on them. I've watched seasons get shortened, tournaments canceled, practices squeezed into tight windows because of rain, mud, field conditions, in which obviously we've discussed we can't control that. And I've also had the benefit of talking to multiple park directors in the area just about the benefit of the turf. Their experiences consistent that turf fields don't just improve playability, they change the economics of youth sports and community recreation as a whole. From countless conversations on the sidelines and the bleachers, as a coach, as a parent, I haven't met a single parent who disagrees with turf that wouldn't themselves want to enhance the experience for our kids and guarantee more playing time, bring meaningful benefits to our leagues and the families. Every time we cancel games because the fields are too wet, we lose more than just a date on the calendar. And as Andy mentioned, we do lose that registration value for the families, the revenue for local businesses, and opportunities for our kids to play, grow, and essentially, compete. And though my own personal experience for hosting a tournament, and in that instance, losing a half a day due to the passing rain that hurts the fields just enough that we can't play, I also would lose funds for the foundation that I was running it for, but would have greatly benefited from those. Turf would dramatically reduce that loss for everyone. But again, turf fields might seem, like something that we can push and maybe do a little bit here and there, but they're an infrastructure for a growing community that wants to make that smart move to turf, forward-thinking investments, and frankly, a move that the gentleman behind me have mentioned are being made throughout the entire industry. But personally, I've been on a couple of those fields myself, and I've essentially just been spoiled, I guess, to see the impact where we've been able to play, in the rain, and knowing what I've been able to have to go through here and having to cancel and lose those games, and unfortunately, in some instances, not being able to reschedule them. So that's why I'm obviously passionate about this, both as a parent, as a player, as a coach, and knowing the revenue from a sports industry part. Want to make sure that I at least put that out there and let you know. But thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Sorry, we were pushing time real quick here. Chairman Cryover about to have a heart attack, I guess.
Oh, we don't want
I think we need to move the financing talk to the finance committee, and I appreciate Steve, y'all being here today. And Crystal, why don't you get with them and maybe set up a meeting so that y'all can get some finer points on the contract and everything done?
Well, probably the best thing to do would be for me to go ahead and get a working draft of the contract so that they can look at, and then once we have the financing piece, I can add that in. But they can certainly be looking at it and looking at the other parts of it. So I'll go ahead and start working on that.
Appreciate y'all coming, Steve, and we'll be in touch. Thanks a million. We had communication from the audience.